Snow and bright sun. You remember I said recently that I was gonna stop buying books for a while. Well, that doesn't mean that you can't check stuff out of the library. Basically, since my last video, I started reading The Blue Flower. Then I had lunch with my dear friend Patrick, and we talked about stuff we wanted to read and write. Now, on Patrick's shelves, there was a lot of Percival Everett, a writer I've been wanting to read for a long time. And there was also John Fante, a writer that I'd heard Charles Bukowski talk a lot about in that book of his that I'd binged the week before. Later on, I found myself at the library and I wanted to check out stuff. I parked at the parking garage and sprinted across the street, and sprinted across another street and went in and grabbed a big armful of books and came out with them. I'd already had checked out this Deborah Eisenberg book, the first story of which I read and liked a lot, and also this book of Robert Aickman stories that I'm really excited to get to because I love Aickman and I love The Inner Room. As you can see, these are both from Haw. So out of the library, I sprinted with I dashed with this stack of books. We have Harry Crew's Offshore, which is a book that a lot of the copy that I was reading about Blue Flower was mentioning. Maximum Bob. Patrick's shelves also had lots of it. Elmore Leonard. Five Eyes. Really want to read that. Kenneth Koch, because a commenter on my video was recommending a specific poem. And then Percival Everett, the book that Patrick first read. And then this was the only John Fante book I could find that was published in like kind of Black Sparrow Press edition. And you can see that there's like this kind of, whatever causes that sort of, wrinkle to the crinkle. I accidentally spilled some water on the floor, so I'm letting some books dry on the bed. Yeah, and if you must know, in addition to walking out with the aforementioned stack, I also saw that copies of these were not checked out, so I checked them out. And soon I was distracted from reading The Blue Flower, and I was reading this greedily. It was a taboo read, a book I'm not supposed to read because I think I was supposed to initially read it when I was half the age I am now. I was absolutely loving what I was reading in Blue Flower. I was loving the short chapters, a feature of the Blue Flower that kind of carried over nicely to my post office read. I'm looking forward to returning to this book, and I just wanted to, without spoiling too much, read this sentence. Fritz, with no way of swallowing his own saliva mixed with earth and blood, thought, this is all of interest to him as a doctor, but as a philosopher, it doesn't help me. Now, this is a book I own and have owned for a while. It's one of those ones that I've been meaning to read for a while, and I'm just getting to now because of my book freeze that's making me turn to my own shelves, not go to any bookstores. Well, I have been going to the library. Anyway, so that's a whirlwind tour of the circumstances that brought me to read this book. Me and my set, we like pathetic characters. I'm prepped to like this. We like books about lonely people and so forth. We would get a kick out of dedications like this. I think that this is it's kind of this later edition where it has like not that many words on a page, slightly more pages. The book is 196 pages. The pages themselves are very light. You can see they have a translucence and a very sort of sandy texture to them almost. That sounds very unattractive, but it was a nice reading experience. And it had some of that thing where like toward the bottom of the later pages, you get this sort of tear up. Maybe people are gripping the book harder as they get to the end, which is not the world's most climactic end. But in some ways, right before the denouement, there is a great deal of climax, kind of emotional climax. I was surprised by how good this novel was, in my humble estimation, in my extremely humble estimation. It's told in 6 parts. 1, it's like a playful section. 2, a very wide-ranging section, a welcomely wide-ranging section that was the point I decided I really liked the book. Which I felt like was cool because I'm not supposed to. It was kind of daring. Like I thought, well, I'm ready to kind of deride this book and see nothing in it, but it's just got so much, vivid stuff and good, like actual periods of good writing, and I kind of care for the reader and the construction of its story that I find actually to be like characteristics of a good novel. And then there's this part 3. 3 is was a surprisingly touching chapter. It reaches some emotional depths I didn't expect. I should, at this point, say that I do have a friend who was recently working for the post office, and so I'm really familiar with up-to-date reports of the overwork that post office employees suffer. 4 was another playful chapter, and it was also had some nice vistas in it, and it had a pleasant feeling of kind of returning to the scene of the crime, returning to the post office clerk's office, and the memorizing schemes and so forth. And it also had the chapter I thought was the funniest. I guess that was part 4, chapter 8. I thought this was the funniest chapter. He gets stuck in a stairwell and then yells and screams at a guy to open it, and when the guy opens it, he was in a trance-like state, probably because he was scared, because what a thing to see. Part 5 is very suspenseful. I'll just leave it at that. You get lots of documents. Part 5 is very suspenseful, and it's not written at all by Henry Chinaski. And then 6, what about 6? Part 6 kind of snuck up on me. When I was initially flipping through, I thought that it was that there were only 5 sections, and so the 6th kind of snuck up. I was glad when it did, because I liked the purity that gave to section 5, and tonally. And then part 6 has some more funny bits, and then that kind of like ambiguous farewell feeling that that is found toward the end of many a good novel. In short, I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. I read it in probably like 3 or 4 kind of excited bouts, and yeah, isn't that something, huh? And it's just so insolent of me. It's just such adolescent behavior to be knocked off of the horse of this kind of masterpiece and over to this sort of little bumbling, little raucous little comic novel. But I wanted to tell you about it, especially since it's been about a week since I made a video. I've been enjoying making these videos more than I have in the past somehow. For some reason, I feel somewhat in touch with how welcoming and easy YouTube videos are to make. They're just really easy to make, so it's like, why not make them? I am very excited to see how the love story in this book develops. But who knows, I might get sidetracked in the middle of this read and go off and read Offshore or something. Who knows? This morning I was tempted to read 3 Tales. I also took down a Quick Question off my Ashbury shelves and was enjoying that. I was shelving things on the Ashbury shelf that I thought Ashbury might like to be beside this nice Anne Waldman book, and then this really nice Raymond Roussel book from the Song Cave. That was a real impulse purchase when I bought it. The kind of thing that I'm not allowing myself just yet, just so I can go back and actually kind of consider what these impulse purchases mean for me. Yeah, this is my nice copy of 3 Tales. I was tempted by it this morning, but I want to get back to the Blue Flower, but I was tempted by 3 Tales. I actually have only ever read the middle one, and you can tell because there's just a million freaking marks on like just the start of that one. I'm also tempted to read If on a Winter's Night a Traveler, but it wouldn't be a Leafy video without me listing a bunch of things I'm tempted to read next at the end of the video. Everybody, have a good day. Happy reading.